All right, hello and welcome to the Realizing Resilience podcast. I am your host, Nate Fournier, and today, as always, we are sponsored by Reimagined Roots, an edible and ecological landscaping company transforming backyards into gardens of Eden packed with food, medicine, and native plants. There's a lot of overlap between the business of Reimagined Roots and this podcast, and originally it was going to be a podcast about Reimagined Roots, and it was just going to be a lot of gardening tips and tricks and advice and really tactical, practical things. But you know what? I kind of realized that there are, for one, a lot of other podcasts out there about gardening specifically. And my passion is broader than just gardening. Gardening is a tool, and a very important one at that. I think the most important one in creating more resilience in your life. So my intention and my focus is on creating more resilience as individuals and as communities. And I think that using a permaculture framework and using gardening as one of the primary tools in that toolbox to create more resilience in your life is so much more aligned with what I can really get excited about. And so today, I am going to talk a little bit about my core values. And so I think that there's a really important foundational kind of perspective, right? And I want to attract the people who are aligned with kind of my worldview and just share a bit more about the bigger picture. So we certainly will have podcasts that are more technical and specific gardening techniques and, especially here in central Massachusetts. And so just for context, if you're not aware, I am based here in Worcester County, Massachusetts. We are zone 6B and warming. And so a lot of local techniques and pests and diseases that we are facing here. I'm excited to talk more about in the future and timing of things. But for now, core values. It all starts here, right? And when I reflect on why I'm doing what I'm doing, it comes down to these three things. Number one, core value in my life is resilience. Who would have thought? Again, that concept of creating more resilience and going beyond security, there's this baseline of you can take care of yourself and feeling secure versus being resilient. And then you can take it even farther and become anti-fragile, right? And that's kind of what nature is. And what that means is when there's an injury or a negative impact on a system, that it responds with vigor and becomes stronger as a result of that injury. So we see this a lot in nature. We see this, in going to the gym, working out your bodies as the small muscle fibers tear and rebuild, they become stronger. And there's this underlying current throughout all of nature that is such a big part of it. We learn from those struggles and that strife, and we become stronger psychologically, physically, and the planet, ecologically can benefit from these things. So resilience is number one, and then conscious curiosity is number two. And that's something that I originally framed as lifelong learning, but I think it's deeper than that. It's curiosity. It's looking at the world and just being in awe, wow, I don't understand how these things work. And then the conscious part of it is to strive to understand, right? To not just accept that we don't understand things. Obviously there is a point where it's we literally don't have the science to understand it. And so you can spend a lot of mental energy and effort trying to understand things that we just don't know yet. So that has a place, but consciously curious. I know and I am active in my curiosity, which means I look it up if I don't know something. And nature is so humbling because there's so much that we don't understand on the microscopic scale up to the macroscopic in different contexts and different spheres. But just sitting back and realizing how little we know. And the more you learn, the more I realize I don't know. There's a lot of depth of knowledge and understanding in the natural world that is just awe-inspiring. So then that drives so much of what I do. Yeah, and then radical candor is number 3. So candor is the act of being forthright in your communications and just being direct. So being able to have these conversations that don't shy away from the difficult conversations, that don't avoid the conversation because you don't want to hurt anybody's feelings or disagree with somebody, but being radically honest with people and with yourself. So radical candor can show up in a way like this, where we need to talk about the problems that we're facing on this planet. And I believe the most important thing that we need to talk about is our food system and where our food comes from and what it's doing to our planet ecologically, and where the money's going and how these corporate influences and billions of dollars are influencing our health, our status, our psychology, our planet, and all of the rest. So much of what defines modern society is our commercial agriculture foundation, which again has transformed the face of the planet, has completely, in a very short time period, is the scary part for me, is putting all of this into context of where we stand on the timeline of the planet and how short of a time that we've been here and how much massive change that we've made negatively. And I believe, as an obsessive optimist, that we also have the power to be able to reverse that. I think if we make a concentrated effort, and if the leaders of the world woke up to all of these things, and we put our minds together and we reversed the ecological destruction that we've done thus far, I think that it can be done. I'm very confident. And I'm not going to wait for them to do it. And I think that's a really important part of all of this is what can we do in our own backyard that can make the largest, most positive impact possible. And that, my friends, is growing your own food, planting native plants, and restoring these ecosystems. And the best part is they can also be incredibly beautiful, be sensational spaces that you walk through and you're just surrounded by different aromas and colors and textures and vibrations of life. Like, to be a facilitator of life in your own backyard, what else could give you hope? It's so powerful, really, really powerful. And then zest is the 4th core value, to move with purpose. There's a lot of romanticism in permaculture and in this field, and people think like there's just save the butterflies and it's this cute thing that we can do. But I think that within our lifetimes, within definitely the next generation, my children's lifetime, something's got to give. Whether that's a significant tipping point in the stability of our climate, or political or economic, or more technological, right? We're in the midst of this technological revolution with AI, and I'm just trying to envision what will that next generation look like. And if we don't use these tools and these technologies to reverse the damage that we've done, and instead if they accelerate just as fast as the technology is accelerating, as it has been since the Industrial Revolution, essentially, we're doomed. We're totally, totally doomed. And so how do we use these tools to reverse the damage that we've done? And not just, there's this concept with conservation. Conservation commissions is just like, don't touch it, keep it as it is, conserve it. And I get it. I think their heart's in the right place, but I don't think it's enough. I think it should be regeneration, not conservation, which means human input. Like, we actively redesign and first of all, understand, like study and understand how these systems work, and then gently and very methodically garden and steward these places to create more resilience and to initiate the existing regeneration efforts of nature. And I think that's our purpose on this planet as humans, as the conscious beings on this planet, are to be the stewards of it and to facilitate the regeneration, these cycles that already exist. We can gently massage and influence how they work and accelerate their development. Very complex. We've got to be very mindful because a lot of times we have the right intention, we think we're doing the right thing, and it turns out that we just made everything worse. And so it's difficult, like the most difficult thing that we face. So I definitely understand that. But my personal core values that I have also translated now into my business, Reimagined Roots, rooted in resilience, consciously curious, radical candor, and zest, moving with purpose. We don't have much time, so we better bust ass and make it happen. And all of this I like to summarize as the aggregate of arete. There's this concept of arete, this Greek philosophy rooted in Stoicism of optimization. Usually about, as an individual, how do you optimize? What is the best version of yourself, and what do you need to do to unleash that onto the world? How much impact could you have? What benefits could the world sow? What can you sow in this world that is just going to, optimize yourself and everyone around you through your work, through your philosophy? So arete. And if we all did that, imagine if every one of us strived to become the best version of ourselves, and then to make the best version of the way that we create community and we bring each other up and the way that we interact with the planet. Like, let's optimize that. Let's see that highest potential of this symbiotic relationship of humanity and ecology in the earth, and blend this vision of connectedness and community. So I think arete summarizes this collective responsibility that we all have to become the best versions of ourselves, to live with honor and virtue, to be mindful of how we contribute to this world, and just to get a perspective of where are you currently and where could you be if you gave it your all. And all of this is complicated, but it boils down to self-reflection, journaling, understanding yourself. What are your core values personally, and how do you optimize yourself to live to fulfill your life, to live in a fulfilling way? I think we've lost it. There's so much uncertainty, and people don't ask themselves what they want, and they just do what they're told, and we live in this overstimulated, broad version of the world that eliminates our own individuality and has impacted our humanity. But we can bring it back. I think we are on the precipice of a revolution of understanding, this paradigm shift of working with nature rather than against it, of understanding ourselves and our role on this planet. And language is powerful. So find the words that resonate with you. Take some time to reflect, figure out your core values. What do you want to contribute? And it all starts with psychology. It starts with you internally in resolving to do whatever it is that you see yourself achieving within your lifetime. And then doing it by any means necessary, with honor and virtue and grace, in understanding the nuances of life. And it's difficult. Believe me, it's difficult, and it's okay. So let's do it together, and we can all start in the garden. So if you haven't gardened much yet, if you're here for the philosophy or if you're here for the techniques and tactics, we can help, and we can do it together. And we're going to grow ourselves, our communities, our friends, and our gardens. So let's get growing.